Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. And ladies and gentlemen, well, we're absent some friends because Everborn Saga is running a little late. So is, of course, Keasante and Wandering Dutch. But we'll get them there soon enough. But listen, folks, breaking news left, right, and center. It turns out that it is confirmed and just has been confirmed by Judge Corley's notes via the court case that went on with Microsoft versus the FTC. It turns out that Sony was in fact trying to lock up Starfield as an exclusive. I have the court documents in front of me that was sent by Everborn Saga. Hargeet is hearing rumors, and he's not the only one, that they tried to do something to get Call of Duty exclusive. Hargeet, I don't know if that's true, but we will certainly find out. And we're gonna get into some Call of Duty news because holy cow, Xbox 360 games, which are of course 100% backwards compatible, unlike Sony's PlayStation 3, which you cannot play on the PlayStation 4 or 5, and I guess they're pretty much shit out of luck on that. The servers were all turned on by Microsoft quietly over the weekend. And we got some numbers, Hargeet, that are going to shock and awe a lot of people in this chat. Because let me tell you something. The one thing I really want to stress, Hargeet, is Xbox lost a lot of players from the 360 era to the PlayStation 4 for the console being $100 more, for having a really bad, leadership in place, some bad marketing, and they left for Call of Duty because, well, PlayStation was the place to go to play Call of Duty on the PlayStation 4 because Microsoft gave up those marketing rights. But I have a feeling, and we're going to get more into this, Hargeet, that this turning on of the servers might be an olive branch to all of those players that, hey, you left and now it's going to be in Game Pass. You might want to come back. Hargeet, how you doing, brother? Welcome.
On mute. Muted. Sorry.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So we're getting more information about the deal. Is going to take a little bit longer for CMA to.
Yeah, we'll get into that as well.
But yeah, I guess the Call of Duty servers got turned back on, and people they're like the top selling games or something for some reason on the Xbox.
Yeah, I have the list of top selling Xbox 360 games, which are 2 generations ago.
Yeah. Hey, what the heck, right? Call of Duty is pretty popular, and I guess even if the old games, what the heck, right? Why not? If they're playable. Well, look, we're getting remakes of Modern Warfare 2, and Modern Warfare 3 is coming, right? The last 5 Call of Duties, 3 are remakes. So those games are good. They're good. So it's interesting that people want to just go play the old ones. Why not? I suppose. But all of this coming to Game Pass, that could be some interesting times.
Well, I mean, listen. We're gonna break it down when we get to the topic. I just think there's something to be said about suggesting that people, regardless of what console you're on, right? Like if you're on a PlayStation 4 right now or PlayStation 5, I really think that it's going to be hard to say to these players, hey, listen, you like Call of Duty 7643 here in New York. I just find it that even at $17, which is going to be the new price as of, I believe, September 1st for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, it's really hard to think that someone, because again, I think the running conversation, Mag, is that it is expected by some that people are just going to give up their digital libraries on the PlayStation 5 and sell everything and go to Xbox. And I really have a big problem with that because I understand gaming's expensive, Mag. I understand that it is a hobby. It is entertainment. But there is a world where you can, in fact, own both and you can play on both. And we may, again, like we don't have all the time in the world, but someone might. How you doing, brother? Welcome back.
Well, first of all, I'm excited to be here, Boom. It's hey, look, right now it's the three of us doing this show. We can hold the fort down. By the way, anybody in the chat, if I don't say hi to you right away, my chat is froze on me. So I'll say hi to you guys all from here live on the air. But anyways, we got some things to talk about. We got some exciting things to talk about. Some shocking developments when you like what you guys just talked about here with old legacy games coming back. And boy, did I bring that up last week about Phil Spencer and his love of legacy and game preservation. This is something I'm going to dive deep into when we get into the topic, the first topic at hand. But we'll get into that when the time goes. But anyways, let's get this show going. Let's get rolling. Chat, hit that like button, and let's get some more people in here. Let's go.
I appreciate it. Well, we're already at 3:15, and we're only 5 minutes in, which is pretty impressive. Again, the channel is still small. We are at 13K. We're on our way, or a couple of subs away from 13.1. So we're making headway. Like I said, I'm incredibly happy with the journey. Obviously, you'd love to be at 100,000, but maybe one day we'll get there. Hargeet, let's talk numbers, because numbers matter in gaming. Now, Boss Shaw 247 tweeted something earlier today, and he it's interesting. It's an interesting number because we're talking sales of the Xbox Series X, and he wrote this: "Man, Call of Duty ain't no joke. Even the old Call of Duty games sell systems. Since the servers have been fixed, and that was by Microsoft, confirmed, not Activision, not Xbox. Microsoft turned on these defunct servers to allow people to play multiplayer via Xbox." He goes on to say, "Since the servers have been fixed, people are reporting Xbox Series X consoles sold out everywhere in stores. Amazon has some online, and the Xbox Series X has jumped up to not only number 10, but 84% in sales since this happened." Now, I have some numbers here because obviously, numbers matter. At least they do to me. And Hargeet, I know you're a numbers guy. Well, according to Idle Sloth, great friend of the community, he posted this: the top 5 sales on the Xbox store right now are nearly all old Call of Duty games in the US and the UK. People are not waiting for the ABK deal to be done. So this is how the order goes in the United States, Hargeet. At number 1, COD Black Ops 2. At number 2, COD Modern Warfare 2. At number 3, COD Black Ops 1, then Modern Warfare 2, the new remake, and then Modern Warfare 3. And I have the picture in front of me. I'm blown away, Hargeet, that in the top 5 games sold on Xbox right now, 4 of them are from 2 generations ago on the Xbox 360. And I mean, listen, I said this. I think you said this. I think Mag said this. I think everyone pretty much agreed that the play here, as we know, because Microsoft is, they love money and they have to, make money for their investors. The big play here was King. But there's something to be said about 4 out of the 5 games that are top right now are Xbox 360 games. And what's even more interesting is that you can't do this even if PlayStation wanted to, because PlayStation 4 and 5 are not backwards compatible with the PlayStation 3. Talk about it, Hargeet.
Yeah, interesting. And the 5th game, of course, being another Call of Duty, right? So, yeah, pretty crazy that that's what's happening. The interesting thing with this is they're just doing this with Call of Duty. There've been other games that haven't been coming into backwards compatibility that may suddenly come into backwards compatibility because they would now own ABK. There have been licensing headaches, right? There's also the potential of getting other ones from licensed material like the Transformers games or the Spider-Man games, the Marvel Ultimate Alliances, and all those. that Activision has made over the past, and those could just come back in if they work out those license deals.
Yep.
But this is the thing, like this is when you get the ABK library, and also look, it's PC and it's console, and on the PC side they have a lot more to offer there. That is going to bolster that up, and that's where their growth is for Game Pass, right? This is why this is a big deal, right? Blizzard is a massive publisher when it comes to PC games, and obviously King, as you mentioned, the mobile side of it, which is half of the revenue of ABK, is mobile, and more players of COD are on mobile. This is kind of the direction, right? So yes, Call of Duty is a big game. Where it goes in the future, we don't know, right? There's plenty of opportunities for others to come in and compete with that. But assuming it stays the way it is, it's a massive money generator, just like Minecraft was for Microsoft. It just keeps printing money for them. They keep updating it, they keep putting stuff out, right? And they just keep making money with Minecraft. So that's what they're looking at, with the the Call of Duty IP. But they're also looking at the future, right? But so this is pretty good. It's going to bring a whole bunch of games into Game Pass. Obviously, it might bring in more backwards compatibility, and when that happens, hopefully people will get to experience more games. Like the other, people at our age, we probably have played a lot of those games, but remember, there are always newcomers coming to the scene, right? New, kids growing up that are starting to play in console space, right? That they will suddenly, get to play those games, or even ones that are on PC, they will suddenly get to play all those games, right? So just, those are the kind of things that happen when you can bring this catalog in, right? So it's fantastic to be able to offer that to them. $10 if you're on PC, 17, 11, but 17 if you want an ultimate, with the multiplayer online. So this is great stuff. So hopefully this will help them. We will see how that rolls out, right? We still have some time before it actually happens, but it is interesting that these games are just picking up this fast. Let's see if it sustains. We don't know, right? It could be that, this is just a couple of weeks thing and it kind of fizzles, but we'll see, right? There was a big sale that had all of them in there, and people decided to start playing them because the servers came back, right? So it's pretty interesting, right? So, we'll see how that. So I assume that means people started playing it. Other friends said, "Hey, why don't you go buy it? It's pretty cheap." Right, and they started picking it up, and they became the big sellers. I guess the question is, what else would be competing with that on the Xbox store right now? And I don't know if there's any major releases on this side. Certainly, it was Final Fantasy 16. Diablo, I think, would have been the last big game to release, and I don't know if we're kind of past its prime selling time or whatever. But that may be it. It's just like people are like, hey, I'm free right now. I these servers turned on. Let's go play some Call of Duty. And hey, buddy, why don't you go pick it up? It's cheap right now on sale. So why not, right? So interesting way to go right before it all comes into Game Pass.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say this. It was no accident. They didn't just, it does take us. I mean, it's not flipping on a switch. And I was actually just talking about that this morning with Kay Asante, and that's really his forte. Which I'm hoping to get him in here. I just messaged him, so I'm not sure if something happened with one of the kids or something, but hopefully not. But if he could be here, he'll be here, and we'll get his hot take on it, because he says that it does take not a lot of work, but it does take some actual work to get there. And it's I was saying I kind of feel like it's an olive branch to players that enjoyed these games for not hundreds, potentially thousands of hours with their friends. Yeah. Right. If they own the game, well, they own the game. And obviously you can pop that disc, even the disc, right into your Series X, and you just go. And it's pretty amazing that you can do that. And like, even if you had to go and buy it, I think that there's a little bit more to this story that we'll learn. But it does go to show you that there is a power of Call of Duty, and I cannot wait for the time where Call of Duty is looked upon as an Xbox game like it used to be back in the Xbox 360 days. Because when that happens, and it makes sense, because we keep hearing, and we'll come back around to this, Hargeet, that Jim Ryan wants out of the deal that he has left with Activision, because according to, again, court documents, he feels that the price that they have to pay for this marketing is not worth it if the game is going to be looked upon as an Xbox game. And what's interesting is even the casual audience, my sister-in-law, who has no real affinity for gaming outside of her knowing what her son plays, and that's my nephew Tyler, and he plays. Obviously, he's a big Nintendo fan, but she even knew about it by just it popping up. So if the casual audience is being moved by this, there's gonna be a subset of people like, oh, Xbox is they own Call of Duty. And
yeah, you know how we used to talk about a zeitgeist game. Yep, this is the zeitgeist of zeitgeist games every year, right? There's tens of millions of players that just instantly come into this. It is a big game. There's just no denying it. And to think that basically every fall, Microsoft's big game is going to be, whether they have anything else, is going to be Call of Duty. It doesn't really matter, right? That is a big game. And certainly a zeitgeist game. But look, it's available to other platforms. We'll see if that materially changes anything as far as the console space, as far as percentages. But at least it's available. It's available on other platforms, and it'll be associated with Xbox going forward. And maybe that does something for them. They'll at least generate the revenue. But like you were saying, and I don't know if we want to get into this or not, is the association with the 360 definitely helped the 360, and it made it that shooter box, right? We had like Gears of War, we had Halo, we had Call of Duty, Battlefield, all that stuff was there, and Sony became a little bit distracted in a different direction, but they did try to come up with equivalents then eventually, right? And then they kind of gave up on them. But that is an interesting thing as to where that goes. The only, to my knowledge anyways, the only exclusive Call of Duty was on the 360. It was the Call of Duty 2 that didn't come out to PS3 because PS3 came out a year later, and that by then it was, I think it was just Call of Duty 3. I think they called it that. And then Modern Warfare came out the year later. But so Call of Duty 2 only exists on 360. So the only exclusive they've had there, and you have to look at that from an organic perspective. Microsoft nurtured that relationship, nurtured that game with Activision, right? It was the online ecosystem of 360 that made that a reality, and the box was kind of designed for it. With the online chat, the whole thing, it was just there waiting to be used, and that is where it got its its prominence, was on the Xbox 360, and now it's coming back home. Basically, that's what's happening. It's coming back home, right? So. Cool stuff. We'll see. There's a whole bunch of other games too, but Call of Duty is big.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. Like I said, I am, I know Call of Duty is important, Mag, and obviously, a perfect example of its importance is 4 out of the 5 top-selling games. First of all, let's just say this: the top 5 selling games right now are all Call of Duty on Xbox. That's both in the UK as well as the United States.
Big markets, yeah.
Well, they're huge markets. But what's more interesting, Mag, is the fact that this all stems from the big hubbub of the Call of Duty deal. And like I said, I personally think that there might have been an ideology at Microsoft of an olive branch to say, hey, listen, let's turn on these servers. These games are going to be ours shortly. It's only, and we're going to get into the how long the delay is. Bobby K was on NBC this morning. I think that's only going to be about 2 weeks, because I'll tell you in a second why I think that is. But let's talk about it. 4 out of the 5 games are from 2 generations ago.
Right.
And that people are they're not just playing, Mag. They're playing. Black Ops 1 the other night had over 100,000 people playing it. As a matter of fact, Kotaku did a pretty snarky article where they were like, hey, just so you want to know, Xbox fans, there are more people playing Xbox 360 Call of Duties than there are Halo Infinite. Well, thanks for the update, pal. I'm sure that got you clicks, but let's talk about it, Mac.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I'm excited about this, and I'll get into all the reasonings why. I wanted to bring up something Hargeet just mentioned at the end of his talk there, where he was bringing up that ABK does have a lot of games, but Call of Duty is still the focus. When you have an IP that's so that's so legendary in a way, or it's so iconic is the better word I could use for it. Like you look at something like Take-Two Interactive. Take-Two Interactive has a lot of games too, but what are they known for? Grand Theft Auto, right? So at the end of the day, ABK will always be Call of Duty. That's the way it goes. Now, another thing I was going to bring up, Abdel114 in the chat, he actually says, he's looking forward to, he wants a mag skin for the next Call of Duty. I've already spoken to Phil Spencer about it. It's going to be $9.99 for the mag skin, and for an extra $2.99, you can get the pony horn. So, that's coming soon.
I will spend that $2.99, sir.
That's coming 2024, folks. And one last thing before I get into my spiel, I just realized as I look down at my calendar, this week marks, not to the day because it didn't work. We were on Mondays. This week marks the very first time 3-year anniversary that I've been on a show with Boom.
That's awesome, dude.
That's this week. This week it was, and the week of the July. What is it? A 15th to 19th, somewhere around there. And it was a 3-year anniversary. I've been doing the show with you, brother. So it's been a pleasure. And it's been a wild ride so far, and let's keep going. But here we go. Get into this situation. This is exciting, and there's a reason. The reason why is because what's happening is it's drumming up interest. It's people are interested. It's reviving people's love for Call of Duty. I know people say, "Oh, Call of Duty's fallen off. It's not the same as it was." It's still the number one selling game every single year. Even Vanguard, which is considered to be one of the worst, next to what was it, Call of Duty? What's the one that came out with the launch of the Xbox One and the PS4? Ghosts. Call of Duty Ghosts was considered to be one of the worst ones. And then Vanguard. They were still the best-selling games of the year, right? So there's no way around it. So the thing is, this is a great opportunity here. Now that what's happening, I think that Microsoft did this on purpose. I believe that this was done. I mean, obviously it's done on purpose. But what I mean by that is that I think that this was a litmus test to gauge interest to see what was going to go forward with this game. And what I'm thinking, and I'm praying, okay, to whoever's listening, that please, Phil, anybody, whoever, Sarah Bond, whoever's got their hands on this situation, please, I'm looking for that Destiny 2 style Call of Duty Legacy Edition that's going to go on Game Pass eventually. And what I mean by that, the Destiny 2 thing, have the open world hub like they did in Call of Duty World War II. You're able to walk around with the character, go from here to here to here. What are you going to have? You're going to have portals. The portals will take you to all the campaigns of all the Call of Duties ever.
Oh, wow, dude.
Then you have a portal of the zombie section of every single zombies map or game, whatever, ever released. And then you go to another portal that has all of the multiplayer maps, very much like the Master Chief Collection. Put 110 maps in there, 115 maps, whatever it is. And like I said, you can go from hub to hub to hub to portal to all the different campaigns. And then you don't even have to build the game from the ground up anymore. What do? You add another hub, just like they do with Destiny 2. What was that last one they did? The Light, whatever it was? Because I don't play Destiny. But anyways, yeah, the Light Storm or Light whatever. So you do that. There's your new campaign. You put it in there, and you keep going from there. What does that do? It gets everybody's interest from the Xbox 360 all the way to the Xbox Series X. It gives everybody a chance to celebrate one of the greatest IPs of all time by being able to celebrate. What did I bring up at the beginning of the show? Legacy. I brought up something, and it's something that Phil Spencer is adamant about. He is passionate about it the same way that I think a lot of us, especially all of us in this panel here, and a lot of people in the chat, because we are older gamers. We are older gamers who've been, as Boom has always said, from sticks and dots to what we're seeing now, right? And therefore, we've been there from the beginning. We've been there from some of us have been there from the 70s, Boom and I specifically, right? We've seen that. So we are passionate about the preservation of the games and something that we've been doing for damn near 40-something years, right? So that's the thing. And Phil feels the same way. Game preservation. What are you doing? You're doing that. So you revive the old online multiplayer maps. You revive the old IPs, the old games, the old servers. And what's happening? People are gravitating towards it because Call of Duty, no matter what people say or do, it is foolproof. It is timeless. And that is the definition of a great IP. And that is what I'm excited to see. Now, the other thing is that I know it's coming to Game Pass. We all know that. It's coming to Game Pass. And so people are like, why are they buying this stuff? It's coming to Game Pass anyway. It just shows you how hungry they are for this, how excited the community is for this. This is what the community has been waiting for. They've been waiting for this moment. And you know what? Some people, you know how it gets. Look at Everborn Saga. He bought Diablo 4. Has he even turned it on yet?
Well, he bought
Does
it
my voice
twice.
go any higher?
He
I
bought
don't
it
even know.
twice.
What?
Dude, yeah, he bought it twice. He bought it.
Wow.
See.
Has he turned it on? I wish he was here to answer this question.
He'll be here momentarily, I hope.
he
But
posted
yeah,
that- You remember the soundbite he posted? I just bought Diablo 4, and he posted that sound clip of the guy singing that song, I Am a Clown. And so, the thing is, people get excited. You buy something, you're like, I need this right in my life. It's that FOMO. And this is practically the definition of FOMO at this point. All of a sudden, Xbox has got it. Everybody's jumping back in there. And the funny thing is, after hearing this news, Boom, what did this do for me? I want to go back in and start getting, because remember, in the Xbox 360 days, I don't know how you guys were, I wasn't buying digital at that point. I was buying
bought
physical.
everything disc. Yeah, I bought everything on disc.
Right. And so here's the other thing. At the GameStops of the world and whatever else, I used to trade in 3, get 1 free or whatever it was, right? Or trade 4, get 1 free. I don't own them anymore. So now there's this part of me going, should I just? And I'm like, come on, Mag, take it easy, because you see everybody else doing it. And now I'm getting excited. And now I want to get back in. And this is incredible. This is where I think
cheap. They are cheap. And if you do Bing, you
Boom,
can probably...
stop trying to do this to me.
So 2 questions for you, Mag, right? So
Sure.
one, if they do a Master Chief Collection type thing with COD,
it would be a massive undertaking, but this is a pipe thing.
And then that's fine. But should that go to other platforms?
I say no.
A new Call of Duty?
No, I say that stays on the home of Xbox. I say you release the titles everywhere as promised on cloud Nintendo.
And don't take away existing ones, right?
Absolutely not. No. You leave everything there so no one can say you took anything away from them. So if, for example, if you're an only PlayStation player and you have the PS3, 4, and 5, right, and you have the Call of Duty physical, editions or the digital, whatever, it affects nothing. You keep all the servers going. You keep everything up and running.
Yep.
You keep everything great. People can go all the way back and play whatever the heck they want. Let them do it. But if you want that celebration of the IP that let's face it, guys, okay, $70 billion is basically, I understand, behind the scenes, it's all about the mobile because the mobile cranks out the cash, right? But in the console space, it's all about that Call of Duty. Why not celebrate what you now own? Why not be a proud owner and say, this is what is ours now as a community? Let's celebrate and tell your friends so they can all come in and they can celebrate with us, because that's what's going to happen here. Just because the Xbox community's gotten into this and they're getting excited, you don't think the word spreads? Word is spreading, guys. Word is spreading everywhere. People are starting to perk up their ears, okay? And their eyebrows are starting to raise so high they're going to fly off people's heads. People are doing what? Playing 14-year-old COD games on Xbox? What the heck is going on? And then they realize it's now purchased by them. This is what's going to happen. And I think that this is where, people underestimate the value of Call of Duty. I mean, everybody knows it's a big IP, but I really think it's going to drive up the sales and the of Game Pass, and sorry, not the sales of Game Pass, but the subscriptions to Game Pass, and of course the engagement in the Xbox ecosystem and PC ecosystem as well. Did you have another question, Hargeet?
Yeah. So first, I don't know if that's going to cause any regulatory headache for them, right? That's why I asked that. It's an interesting question, right? Because I'm with you. I think that should be a Xbox exclusive. We're not taking any games away from anybody.
Nope.
We're just compiling them into a convenient Master
That's
Chief
what I'm saying.
Like thing, right? Which is very cool, because if you say I just want to do 2 and 3, you can do that. You can say 1 and 4, you can do that, right? Whatever, right? Like they just do that for you. Very cool. But I don't know if that will become a regulatory headache. So it's an interesting discussion. It would be interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
First, we have to get to the point where they actually do this. Whether they do it or not, like I said, it's just a pipe dream.
I agree with you, right? And maybe even remaster a bit, up-res a bit, right?
Sure.
And maybe up-res, get better frame rates or whatever. That's an awesome thing to do. Why not?
Why not? They have the bodies to do it. They have the money and the know-how to do it. They've clearly done it with a lot of their titles before, all the way back to the original Xbox. They have remastered 60 FPS, the whole 9 yards, 4K, blah, 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 blah. They've done all these things to these games. And why? Once again, because Phil is a huge fan of game preservation and, of course, making the experience better, right?
These are big games, so you might as well preserve them, right?
Exactly. And without interrupting the artistic vision of the creators of that game, right?
And then
remember that came up?
Yeah, and then the other point you made about the the purchasing of it, right, is the FOMO and whatnot, and people purchasing it. Boom, you mentioned how There's the digital issue of people being on PlayStation. They bought all these digital games. What would they do? Right. The problem is when you buy them, at the beginning, they're like $60. If you went and tried to buy something now, it's going to be $5.
Yeah.
Right.
So the reality is it really that big of an issue? First, are you really going to go play that game? And B, if you really are, is it not viable that you can just wait for one of these sales and say, hey, that thing's like $3. I'll just pick it up on this side.
Sure.
Right. And so like, I don't buy this digital library thing because honestly, like you can buy those games again for so cheap that I don't think it necessarily matters. But you also will only play the ones you actually care about. Like you were saying, Matt, you traded your games in. So I just want to get the new game. I'm not playing the old game. What am I doing with this? Just taking up
because it was a different culture in the early aughts, right? Right. 2006, 2007, 2008. We didn't. I mean, unless you were a collector, we did not do it. Like myself or none of my friends. We would go to GameStop together and with a big stack of our 360 games or PS3 games, and we would just go in and trade them and get the new hotness that was sitting behind the shelf. Because I remember those days, the new titles they had behind the counter, locked behind the glass. Because they didn't have them on the shelves because they knew some dude would run in and grab Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 and run out the front door with it. So all the hotness was behind the cash register, right? So we would bring 8 games, 7 games, 8 games, trade them in and get a couple of games for free. That was a standard practice, especially in those days. Let's face it, in those early days, that's almost 20 years ago, we weren't making the money we're making now. Like a lot of us are more established at this point. We're older. We have more expendable income at this point. Us in our 20s, hit and miss, right? Depending on your, what you were up to. But anyways, that's pretty much all I got to say about that. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm glad to see that there's such a growing interest in the community again. And it's having an effect on me, like where, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that's having an effect on me where I'm just itching.
Happening right there.
I'm itching to dive in because boom.
I love it.
Think about, how Call of Duty is. You play it one year, you go to the next one. I probably haven't turned on one of those games in like 10, 12 years. So I'd love to, even the campaigns, I barely remember some of them. I mean, except for some of like the memorable ones, like the one in Modern Warfare 2 in the airport, or the Russian roulette, the Russian roulette in Black Ops, things like that. You remember those things, right? But for the most part, I don't remember all that stuff. I'd love to go back and revisit it and maybe see some of those multiplayer maps and things, right? So it's very exciting. But anyways, I'm going to pass off the mic to a man who I haven't seen or heard in many weeks now. Mr. K. Asante's here.
Mr. K. Asante, 84
welcome,
in the scene,
my friend.
brother. Welcome. Listen, real quick, just to tempt you a little bit, Mr. Mag. I'm Stu says this in the chat.
Oh.
Black Ops 1 and 2 are on sale if you have Ultimate, and they're only $12 each.
Wow. See, that's
nothing. Or if you just wait.
You could just wait.
Can you wait? And when are you going to wait to? Listen, Mr. Asante, we were talking today. I'm glad you're here. First of all, welcome as always. We were talking about specifically because it's your forte on what Microsoft did to flip the switch, so to speak, to get these old servers on. I think that it's an olive branch. This isn't an accident. Someone has to make the decision to say, hey, we're going to own these things. People on Xbox want to play them. We can actually make some money on the back end because people not only have the disc, but people like Mag are like salivating to buy. You're going to see, folks, if I could like put a camera in his house, his fingers twitching like this right now because he wants to buy.
I almost want to turn the camera off and just go like turn on the console and just take a look at the store.
I love it. So what exactly had to get done to do this, and are there motives behind it?
Yeah, well, first off, microphone check 1 2. I hope y'all can hear me. I think I sounded right. This is the first time I've used my mic in like almost 2 weeks. So yes, what's going on, everybody? It's been a minute since I've been on here. But yeah, I think the news is pretty interesting. I think it's pretty exciting. I thought it was kind of a shrewd move on their part, right? This is back when Call of Duty, back when games didn't have to be multiplayer, didn't have to be compatible with other platforms, so you could be isolated and be either an Xbox game or a PlayStation game. There was no such thing as
crossplay or anything.
Crossplay. Playing across the aisle. Exactly. There was none of that, right? So this instance is very, very interesting, very shrewd thing you can think of, because if you think about it, a lot of people talk about, oh, your dedicated servers and the back end and all that. And by and large, that's for those who are not aware, that's my bread and butter. That's what I do for a living. I deal with that back end infrastructure, the hardware. When you talk cloud, people think cloud is a floating term. No, I deal with the really big, thick pieces of machinery, that need to be paid for and maintained in order for your cloud theory to continue. So needless to say, the cool thing about this, the thing that I think is pretty awesome, the thing that excited me about Microsoft and Xbox a while ago, and they're still going in that direction, is that they're playing to their strengths here. And back in the day, and a quick little lesson, people don't know what a server is. You thought a server, like I'm describing, big data centers, huge rooms. You've seen the stereotypical movie where they show you the big huge data centers. These days, that still exists, sure, but for the purposes of this game and what they're doing here, it's literally a reference design. Like once the game was done and they shut off the servers, they mothball or they archive all of the reference design documents and they put it away. All Microsoft did was they probably had one of their weekend warriors say, hey, let's do something nice with the community. They found the reference design. They now work with virtual servers. So you can literally spin up any machine you want in a moment's notice. And they just took a reference design. I need to know, I'm not aware if anybody actually has tried it out yet. Did you need a quick software update before that thing kicked in? Probably not. So they most likely mimicked, because you can mimic a lot in software now. They mimicked the conditions and the server settings right perfectly, as if when they turn themselves on, they're still in the 360 land and everybody nothing knows anything better. And all they're doing now is basically leveraging that. The same thing they did on the Xbox 360. Most people aren't aware, but the 360 were a bunch of virtual servers. Your Xbox One Series console right now, a bunch of virtual servers. They are literally playing to their strengths here, and the stuff that PlayStation would then have to go get the infrastructure, most likely go figure out how much growth they need in order to maintain however many people are going to jump on. No, they just spun up a bunch of Azure servers. They virtualized them, put it on the back end, keep an eye out, and see which Call of Duty becomes the great one, the one that people gravitate towards. Now, the winner, K, is Black Ops 1. Which I'm not surprised about, because Black Ops 1 was so good that people were dying for remakes of that, right? So I'm not surprised that that's the one that's heading in that direction. But what I think is super interesting, and I see my man, Mr. Everborn Saga, has joined us.
He's here. I said Sonic 3 times in the mirror. I got him.
Yes. I'm gonna and you better play with your cables right now, because you're still doing that thing you do. Big pause. Yeah, he's playing with cables live on the air. That's right. Okay. No, all right. How about now? Are we good now? Are we much better? Much better. Much better. Yes. Yeah. So the reason why it is apt that Mr. Everborn Saga is here, because I have a theory that I think might be interesting, that I want your take on it as well.
This is first of all, he said this to me, and I thought about it, and I said, my God, if he is correct in what he's about to pitch, Phil Spencer listens to this show. I know, Phil, you're listening, brother. I appreciate you. I love you.
He's now called Phil Spender.
Phil Spender. He held the line. This is what he's about to say, folks. I got a preview this morning. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
So we already know that there's this conversation that's already happened, and there's a lot of speculation as to some of the changes that may or may not have happened with the PlayStation contract. Right? It may be that they no longer have the full aspect of the marketing that they used to continue getting their 10-year deal. Right? We've also heard Jim speak to the effect of, hey, why are we going to market a product that's basically directly in our competitors' hands? So all that may change seed the ground here, right? I get all that, but assuming that that's not the case, and that all existing contracts stand, we also know that during the term where PlayStation owns the marketing rights to Call of Duty, Microsoft and Xbox is not even allowed to pronounce the name of the game while they are marketing it, right? So there would be a weird moment. There would be a weird moment in time, right? There's a weird moment in time where they own this game, this new game that's out in the public, and they can't speak on it, right?
Well,
But hey, here's the scenario.
Wait, listen to this. This is
but I'm watching Hargeet literally put it together in real time. His brain is going. I see it, right? I see it, right? But when you own, right, and that has always existed in all the platforms and all the IPs they've always played in, right? If the contract happens, you know, no longer allowed to speak on it. Deathloop and all that, right?
Yep.
But if there was a pre-Deathloop or a Deathloop 2, they could be talking about that. But they don't have those instances. Bring on Call of Duty, where they have libraries of the latest and greatest Call of Duties that you've always loved. It's at that point now where they own so much of it that they could give you new DLC in the 360 versions of the games if they so chose, right? So here we go. Let's assume, which obviously we've already talked about the fact that may not even be the case, that PlayStation continues to market it all the way to 2025. But if they do, what can Xbox do? They can literally turn around and go, day and date, here's your favorite Call of Duties of all time with little effort. Turn on the servers, get them going, find the ones that you love and keep you excited for them while killing the clock on whatever is existing. And they can still continue saying Call of Duty, unlike all the other times when they had nothing else to do about it. That is my theory.
I think you're doing a little too much thinking about this.
Am I wrong? Think about it. Like it's walking and talking and moving itself at this point.
Think about this.
Mm-hmm.
What Sony and Activision have today is a co-marketing agreement.
True. Yes.
Activision can market Call of Duty.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
And they did.
Microsoft.
But that's where
Activision and Activision is Microsoft. Now
that's where I think it's a bridge too far.
But
I think contracts supersede themselves. If you are a third party, then all of a sudden during the course of a marketing contract become a first party. That doesn't automatically mean that, oh, the IP is mine now, so I get to speak, even though the contract says I can't. You know what I'm saying?
I would argue that it does, and I'll tell you why. Unless Jim really makes good on his threat and says I'm not marketing it, and then there might be a clause that it falls into that then the owner of the IP then goes default to market it. Then of course that may be Xbox.
Right? It was Activision that marketed it, not
sure. Yeah. See, that's my point. If PlayStation continues down the path that they have been doing, meaning we own it, we own the marketing rights, we're going to continue to market it. If they did so, I don't think that it would change anything. It would continue to be status quo. Okay. But if they didn't, then maybe that world that you're describing might come to fruition, because then there might be some legal framework with that being possible.
You know, you said legal. I want to say illegal for a second, because Justy Spud just said something that made me choke on my water. I said Phil Spencer holds the line.
Oh.
He says Jim Ryan snorts the line.
I just saw that.
My God. Wow.
He probably is now.
Well, everyone, you wanted to say something, then I wanted to chime in. But
please go ahead, have a bun. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Jesus Christ.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I think we are living in the timeline that I described. And there is a reason that Jim's first response was that it will not make sense, because that was a separate point. Us paying you for these marketing rights does not make sense anymore. Why? This was such a global event that literally the entire world knows that this is your IP, right? There's no one on the planet that won't know that. And us paying to be associated with it will be stupid when, even if we are airing the commercials, when CNN comes back on, or when you go to IGN, all you're going to read is Microsoft owns this thing. It makes no sense. And this is why Jim said it made no sense. This was before he got to his fanciful offer of I want everything, and ironically got almost nothing. But that's another conversation. So the point is, I do not believe that they are going to continue paying for that marketing, because it makes no sense for them. And these aren't my words, these are Jim's words, right? There's
Yeah.
no play there for at least in that first paragraph. If we look at his email to Phil, there is no play in we don't want to pay for the marketing anymore because it doesn't make sense.
And
right?
further, Everborn, I'll take that even further and say they signed a 10-year deal, right? Not a 8-year deal from the 2 years they already had, right?
Correct.
It's
This
a
is a
10-year
new deal.
deal, which means it's
is
going
like
to outline
FDR.
70-30, right?
Right.
So I lend more to what you're saying. I think this did nullify it because what would be the point from Sony's perspective? They're losing money. They have to pay and take a lesser cut. Why would they want to do that, right? And on top of that, Microsoft just wants a clean 10-year deal, right?
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think that is what happened.
Yeah, you're doing some IGN talk right now, okay?
No. But let me expound on my point, because where I ultimately wanted to go here, and it wasn't even about what Sony does or Sony does not do. I think ultimately them allowing all the platforms, the older versions and the older variations to thrive, they're hoping will catch the community at a certain place where they can have excitement again on older titles, so much so that if a next Call of Duty, the mainstay, salt mines doesn't happen for you in the next 2025 or 2026, because all these others are still existing, and maybe by then more content is coming to some of these, that you will be still satiated by that and allow the salt mines to get dismantled a little bit. Okay. I think ultimately that's their vision.
Okay.
And that's why they're allowing all of this to continue.
2 words, Kay. Occam's razor.
Continue.
The simplest explanation
is usually the right one. Yes. Continue.
Right.
Yes.
But that explanation in this case is they just signed a 10-year deal. Microsoft has a PLA with Sony. They did not have to sign this deal. There was actually no reason, unless Microsoft was getting something beneficial here. So to my mind, if originally on the table was Sony no longer pays for marketing rights, we know this deal is a 30-70 split, not an 80-20 split. Sony's getting more money. They can tell their shareholders and their customers they're guaranteed COD for 10 years. Do you think Microsoft did that out of the kindness of their hearts?
Not after what they pulled. Nope.
So in my timeline, and we can see who's right, I think COD goes into Game Pass this year.
I think
hell yeah. Yes. Oh, you mean the brand new one?
Yeah.
That's an interesting leap. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to go there yet, but I can see where you're going. Yes. Then again, once again, let me hedge my bets. I'm catching up. I'm on vacation. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm catching up.
Everborn, do you think
is there a clause anywhere that would prevent that from this year?
There would have to be in the 10-year.
There would have to be a new contract.
Yeah, and
the existing contract would not allow
for that.
Right.
No.
Which means,
wouldn't that in point not allow it to be in Game Pass this year then, if that were the case?
Well, but think about it. They have
the event that the current deal continues. If they're signing a new deal, because I don't think they're saying that
what's in place is null and void then if they make a new 10-year contract.
Well,
not honoring.
That's what I'm suspecting.
So we don't know that. We don't know that.
That's something that's the outlier here,
because then it would be an 8-year deal, or we're saying that 10-year deal commences after the existing one.
That's what I'm thinking.
But Sony was very clear. Sony was very clear, even in the disingenuous dealings, that they didn't want to continue the existing agreement.
Which makes sense, right? Yeah. Which makes absolute sense. And let's be clear here. Some people sometimes misunderstand exactly how this thing is put together. They pay for the 10-year, well, not 10-year, but with Activision Blizzard, they pay for an extended amount of time to have the rights to market. Then it's up to them to market with their dollars the thing that they have paid for the right to market. So they already still own that right to market all the way to 2025, unless, of course, something has changed, the ground has changed, which is what we're theorizing. But if that has not happened, right, which there's a new 10-year deal in play, so clearly they can't just let it be status quo until the end of it, because as you guys are describing aptly here, that would make no sense because now they're marketing their direct competitors' product. That would not make any sense in the last 2 years of it. So you'd think, and then what you're describing here, it would be, which I'm thinking about it, would be that they would then be in the back room saying, okay, buddy, you didn't get what you wanted, but let's wipe the rest of the last 2 years away and start fresh with these new terms. Whatever those terms would be, we don't know yet. And that's the case, right?
And as I recall, they only have the marketing for this upcoming game, right? And
yeah. And remember, the life cycle of the game is usually the life cycle of the game is usually one full fiscal year. So that's why it's till 2025.
Yeah, but the next year's game would be
then be open standard Microsoft. That's right. Yeah. So we're just literally talking about the game that's coming out this year that would then be marketed this Christmas into 2025 and however long that lasts.
Right. That's so what we're saying is if PlayStation is not doing the marketing for this game, and we know they don't want to.
Yeah, we know they don't want to. Yeah.
And this is from the horse's mouth. This is Jim's mouth. It doesn't make sense because everyone's going to know you own this IP. We'd be advertising for you, basically, right? So if they're not going to market it, which means they're not going to pay Microsoft the fee, right?
Yeah.
And they're also not going to take the 20% because I think this 10-year deal is for 30/70. But I think the canary in the coal mine for us, or the lagging indicator for us, is who does the marketing this year. So when it first officially gets announced, whose stage will it be on?
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think it'll be on Microsoft stage, but in marketing and commercials, I think you'll see Activision. You won't see Xbox. You will later, but initially, if and when this future that you're describing comes to pass, true, you won't see PlayStation marketed as they do. You'll see Activision. Just say Activision Blizzard King. You will not see the Xbox logo here just yet.
I don't know about that.
I could be wrong, but I'm thinking about it.
I think you're gonna see the Microsoft logo.
It depends.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, maybe the Microsoft logo. If I will say Activision, I will say Microsoft, but the Xbox logo, I don't know, man.
Okay, no, maybe not. But so here's the problem. I think because when you see a Bethesda title, you don't see the Xbox logo next to it, right?
Exactly, right. They're gonna let that leg stand on its own, and that's how they get.
But you can still see an Xbox commercial with Call of Duty in it, and I think if we see one of those, we will know.
Okay, okay.
I have a question. My question is this. This marketing deal, is this a contract or is this just a...
No, it is a contract.
It's a contract. Yeah,
it's a contract.
Yeah.
But then the red tape around breaking that contract, because now that this deal has gone through, they're going to have to go back and revise that contract. That's a lot of extra legwork. I don't think they're willing to do this year because
let me answer that.
The timing is counting down here. We're only a couple of months from release.
Yeah, that's an important factor, right? Because a lot of these marketing sort of verticals or whatever, you have to do these a year in advance or more, and those things are already set. So I do understand your point of because of when the deal will close, there won't be enough time to make these changes. That's totally understandable and probably true. But to your point about the contract or whatever, Jim Ryan was already ready to alter that contract if Phil would have gave him all the ZeniMax games, right? So they were okay with that. So that's when Phil wanted them to sign the 3-year extension, right? But the question now is with this new 10-year deal, because the deal that they were going to sign last year would have superseded the existing marketing agreement, right? So the deal that they signed now, does that supersede the existing agreement? And I don't think that's a Microsoft thing. I don't think Sony wants to continue to pay that premium for a game that they know is going to be associated with their competitor.
That's why I'm asking if it's a contract. Because then it's legally bound at this point, right? That's a situation.
Right, but it is unless both parties want out of that.
Okay, if both parties, then yes.
Right. I'm not saying they're being strong armed out of it. I'm saying Sony may not want the marketing.
Because Sony has officially said out in public that they don't want to market it for obvious reasons. It would be in their best interest to want to renegotiate the terms of that contract, because as they've already said, the cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows it's your product. Why are we going to market it that last 2 years? So if that's the case, it is incumbent upon them to take a deal from Microsoft and say, okay, well, we'll change the terms of the last 2 years for your purposes, because it's not like we can market it and get away with it anyway. You know what I'm saying?
We also are ignoring the fact that this deal hasn't actually closed yet.
Yeah, correct.
But you know what I mean? So
that's true.
Let's address that.
Yeah, no, we're actually going to move on to that, because that's obviously the big news. It was confirmed that, and then we'll get to it in a second.
They don't shoot these commercials over a weekend, right? So these things are already done.
Listen, before we break from this Call of Duty situation and get into what is actually happening with the extended delay, and I say extended, we'll break down why we don't think it's going to only be but a couple of weeks. And then you'll see New Zealand and the rest of the knuckleheads fall in line. But let me catch up on the super chats. We got a couple of new channel members, which is pretty dope. Whole Grain Bread and Spartan661. Thank you so much for joining the channel. We truly appreciate that. We also have Spartan661 drops the very first super chat of the evening at $2. And he says, Xbox has a plan. Do not underestimate Phil's team. No, we don't underestimate them at all. We have Pat F drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, love the show and guests. Keep it up. Well, thank you so much for that, Pat. Super appreciate the generosity, but I'm super glad to know that you are enjoying the weekly content. Pip1006 drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, off topic, but have you heard that the next Assassin's Creed will not have any DLC or support after release, hence the $49.99 price tag? I did not actually hear that. Is that Mirage that you're referring to? Because I wow, if that's the case, that kind of sucks, because those games live and breathe onwards with their DLC. I loved Odyssey. I put so much hours into Odyssey. It's absurd how much time I spent in that game. Didn't like the one after it though. The one with the Vikings, just wasn't my bag, man. I put 35 hours in. I was like, yeah, I'm done. Seek the Great. What's up, Seeker? How you feeling, brother? He drops a very generous $5 super chat. He doesn't even say anything. Seeker, thank you for the generosity, brother, and of course, always being here. Sir X-Man drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I need to save this Activision owns Blizzard Creation. Xbox owns Project Gotham Racing. Bazaar is back home. We can get Project Gotham Racing now. I mean, I look, before we start talking Project Gotham Racing, I want a kart racer with Xbox characters, and I will take nothing else. I'm sorry I want Project Gotham again, because that would actually be a nice third one in between everything else, but we got to get a kart racer in there. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I didn't even talk about it, like on one of the Xbox shows, that Jez Corden, Jez likes to tease. Jez knows a lot of things. He put out something about a kart racer. I actually think I might talk about that tomorrow, because I have to find the tweet. Michael Mooney drops a very generous £10 super chat and says, I wonder what the effect would be if Xbox enabled public test service for Call of Duty updates. Get 343 to bring Forge to Call of Duty multiplayer. Wow, that would be crazy. And put Xbox Heroes in multiplayer. That would actually be kind of dope. I would love that. I mean, a Forge type of thing in Call of Duty, the community would go bonkers for something like that. Sin Vendetta drops a very generous, outrageous $20 super chat and says, right now, since Microsoft had that Ultimate Game Sale, and because I'm in a big game preservation mood, I went through and bought every single OG Xbox and 360 game that was available on sale, which included all of the Call of Duties. That's pretty dope, dude. Speaking of preservation, I don't know how many people are into like classic games. I know Mag is. There's something launching tomorrow that Luke Law just did the interview with. It's 1,300 games being dropped in. It's a yearly pass, is $30, and I bought the lifetime pass, which is $80. So I not only have all the games for a lifetime, but I have all the whatever else is going to come into it, because they're going to keep it. It's like the most excellent. I sound Bill and Ted. It was the most excellent game preservation thing I've ever seen. 1,300 games, and they have IPs from arcade, from Genesis, from all different walks of life. I'm gonna get the name for it. I'm gonna put it out there. I'll drop the link if you are interested in checking it out. I immediately jumped on because I'm an OG like that. But folks, let's quickly move into what exactly happened with the CMA, because there are a lot of people that seem to think that this was Microsoft that bent the knee to the CMA. That's not what happened here. We have it on confirmed authority, Everborn, that 29 minutes after Lena Khan's first embarrassing loss, she got actually two, and the second one I think was even worse. The CMA was on the phone with Microsoft, said, hey, let's make a deal. Can we come to the table? You know why they did that? Because they're the laughing stock. Right now, they're the laughing stock, because there are 41 countries before them that said there is no problem with this deal, and it's good for consumers, more importantly, and it's good for competition, which is fantastic. We knew that they hedged their bet with Lena Khan, and it blew up in their face. Now, whether or not they colluded, I think that they did. Whether or not they were defending Sony, and because Jim Ryan has a big presence in the UK, I can't honestly say.
Well, Boom, you can say they were defending Sony, because that's what Judge Corley said.
Well, and that is true. That Judge Corley did in fact say that. But let's get into the timeline, because that's what everyone is waiting for. Like, the deal is done. Take your victory lap, Xbox fans. We own Call of Duty. Well, not we personally, but Xbox is going to have all of your favorite Activision Blizzard Kings dropping into Game Pass day and date, just like they were first party, because, well, they're first party. So you can take your victory lap, streak down naked on your favorite block. Just don't say that I told you to do that, because you're going to get locked up for sure. But phase one with the CMA, when this deal was announced, took 7 weeks, Everborn, and that's when they didn't have anything. Right now, the CMA has everything. They have everything they need. They know that they're going to divest the marketing rights for cloud. They don't really need much. What's the timeline looking to you?
Okay, right. So, just a little history lesson. Ironically, Microsoft originally notified the UK about this relevant, it's an RMS, so it's like a relevant merger situation or something like that. They notified them back on July 6th. This was originally where the CMA had no idea about this deal, no paperwork, nothing. And we got the original decision for phase one to refer to phase two on September 1st. So from July 6th till September 1st, and the CMA didn't know anything about this deal. So now we're in a situation where Microsoft is going to try to submit a new package to the CMA. And as far as the CMA is concerned, this will be considered as a new deal, right? And that means it's going to have to go through a new phase one. The difference this time is CMA really has all this paperwork already, right? They're very familiar with the parties involved. They will have to open it up for comment. They've asked for until, and I want to be very clear about this, they have asked until August 29th to revise their initial ruling. That is not the time it will take for them to get their decision on this new deal. Because what's stopping the deal from closing right now is there's an interim order after the CMA's phase 2 decision. That interim order prohibits Microsoft from consummating this deal globally. Now, we've already talked about this ad nauseum. Microsoft was investigating ways to close over the CMA, right? And had the CMA still been sort of obstinate, meaning they didn't want to hear it, they were going to block the deal no matter what, I think closing over was a real possibility, right? The UK was not going to stand alone and block this deal after it's cleared in the US, China, the EU, and everywhere else in the world, right? And this is always the thing we said. I don't know if the UK has sort of veto rights like that. And we may say that they got Meta to walk away from the deal, but Meta walking away from a $400 million deal is not even in the same universe as a company like Microsoft walking away from a $70 billion deal, especially not when the rest of the world has cleared the deal, right? You can say, well, New Zealand or Australia or whatever, none of those are stopping it, right? The major regulators have cleared it. And so I think that is why, immediately following the FTC decision, they became the odd jurisdiction out. And so they got on the phone because they knew that the deal was going to close with or without them. And if you can find another reason for why they got on the phone with Microsoft and magically started to say, let's work together. And by the way, don't take my word for it, right? Listen to Justice Smith, who is the cat judge that was hearing this. You just tried to delay this deal, right? And we had to shut you down. You were gung-ho. This is an illegal deal, right? It's an anti-competitive deal. It's a monopolistic deal. That's what you said when you were in the House of Commons. That's what you said when you tried to get a delay on the day of closing arguments, which is very interesting. But now all of a sudden, you want to work something out. You want to hear proposals now, when this is not something you normally do. You only do that if you felt like the deal was going to close without you, and you don't want to deal with that legal headache because of whatever else is going on, right? Again, I don't know if Luke Steele is listening because he can probably explain this better than me, or I was hoping Dutch was here because I wanted to talk this through with him. But that being said, now that they are at the table, because that's what really matters, right? It would be absolutely stupid and it would be asinine for Microsoft to close over the CMA unless the deal was at stake. And if the deal is not at stake, you go through these processes.
Right.
And if the deal was small enough, you walk away if the CMA says no. But the deal's not at stake. You do not want to tarnish your reputation. And it wouldn't just be tarnished in the UK. Microsoft leaving the UK is a fanciful idea, right? But if you know that they're coming to the table and they want to work with you, you don't close out of spite. That's stupid, right? So anyone saying they should just close and deal with the lawsuits and years of litigation and never being trusted by regulators around the world again, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Maybe they take that risk if we're talking about a $70 billion deal, but that's not the case now. And you want them to work this out, because if they close clean, the next deal they do, they can
go through with no problem.
Someone to be trusted. And this is the thing that's super important, right? So a lot of people are saying it's going to take a long time before another deal. This is where I talk about Sega people. Just by the way,
Sega's coming. Sega's
right.
joining the family. No doubt about it.
But the thing is, it will be impossible to say that they won't honor their word. Even though we had Minecraft as the example, they tried to separate Minecraft and say, look at Call of Duty, because Call of Duty has a yearly release. If they honor their word on Call of Duty and bring it to more places and have signed contracts with everyone, when they go to a regulator now, there is a framework there to say, look how we treated Activision, look how we treated ZeniMax, look how we treated Minecraft. You can't say that this game, whatever it is, if it's Sonic or if it's Final Fantasy, you can't say that these are instrumental to the whole industry, right? You can't say that someone can't compete without them. So that idea is gone. And you can't say we won't do what we say we're going to do, because you actually have concrete proof to prove that. So I think this is the best way to go, and this is what you want. It does take another couple of weeks, but in terms of timing, we know that New Zealand was supposed to decide on the 17th. That is coincidentally the day before the CMA's final ruling deadline. And now that the CMA has extended, we see that New Zealand has extended again to August 8th. And so what I wonder is if they are basically telegraphing to us when the CMA will approve, right? Because the CMA really doesn't have any work to do here, right? There is no more you don't even have, if you're looking at it as a new deal, you don't have to look at the console market. Why? All the players in that market are in favor of the deal. You have a signed contract from Sony. You have a signed contract from Nintendo, and they can't ignore it this time because it will be submitted with the original package, right? So there's no console issue. And if they sell off the cloud rights in the UK, that's it. There's no jurisdiction to block it. And they've already found that subscription services are a benefit. So I think what we're looking at is August 8th or 9th for when this thing
sounds about right.
Yeah. So or maybe in August the next 2 to 3 weeks.
2 days on the 8th, right? Something like that. But yeah, it's probably around that time.
I mean, listen, you make a lot of sense, and obviously all of these, all of these other regulators who are waiting on the CMA, who are obviously, talking with one another, it makes perfect sense. Hargeet, look, again, we saw a shocking and again not surprising. Lena Khan lost again. We just heard that the judge say that to pursue this makes no sense. Like, obviously she's hell bent on whatever she's trying to do, she's going to go do. She's already lost twice. There was a letter from 22 Republicans saying you have to abandon this. You're wasting taxpayer dollars, which is, again, they are the Republicans. She is a Democrat. We know that's why they're doing it. It's politics. But the truth of the matter is that she needs to just stop. She's not going to win. And
Boom. Can we talk about Chappell? Can we talk about Judge Chappell?
That's what I actually. Yeah, lead that into your what Hargeet's going to answer that, because tell him exactly what Judge Chappell, who of course works for the FTC, had to say just this evening.
Right. So the question now is whether the FTC is going to continue. We know they lost their preliminary injunction. We know they lost their emergency stay. Their appeal is moot if Microsoft closes the deal, because there's nothing to appeal, right? Because the PI is only to stop an action from happening. Once the action has happened, there's nothing for them to appeal. So the only avenue they have left is their August 2nd case, right? This is the one that they didn't want to wait for. So the laws or the rules for the FTC is that they're supposed to drop their administrative case when they lose a preliminary injunction, because the federal court is of a higher authority than the administrative court, right? So if a federal court doesn't think you're going to win this case, and that was a full case. We saw how many witnesses, we saw how much evidence they submitted. It was a full case. It was It was condensed, but it was a full case. And a federal judge who has more who has more authority over your own in-house judge says that you won't win this case, you're not going to win that case, right? And even if something happens in the administrative court, you still have to take it to a federal court to make it binding. And a federal court will already have heard it. And by the way, if the administrative case doesn't go Microsoft's way, it's Microsoft that would appeal to the federal court. You know where they would appeal? Since they can choose which jurisdiction? The Ninth Circuit Court, who already ignored this. So this is why it doesn't make sense, and this is why it's there in their rules to drop it. They could continue it. Now, Microsoft has put in a request today for them to stay the administrative trial. And the FTC has, I think, 7 days to answer them, right? Now, there's only one judge in the FTC, and this is Judge Michael Chappell. He is the judge that is going to hear this case. So this says FTC's ALJ Michael Chappell, that's administrative law judge Michael Chappell, in a hearing from another case says that that they are in limbo on the Microsoft case right now, but he thinks it's a waste of time and energy to have admin trials move forward when federal courts are considering issues related to the same merger. So what does that mean? The in-house court, by the way, all the evidence we just got from the PI hearing is evidence that was submitted to that judge. He's already heard this because they've gone through their evidence already. So even he is saying he thinks it's a waste of time and resources. Will the FTC still pursue it?
Probably not.
That is on top of the 22 House representatives that are urging FTC to drop it. This is on top of them losing in the Northern District of California and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Yeah, it's not even ice skating uphill. Hargeet, listen. At this point, are you in agreement that this thing is all said and done, wrapped up in a nice bow, signed? We can move on to something else already, for crying out loud.
So we as consumers, yes. As far as this,
I can't move forward till I get caught in Game Pass, but I hear you.
Well, and maybe that's coming, right, with the new agreement with Sony. But look, the headache is with Lena Khan, as I had predicted way back. She's not going to follow any precedent, right? In almost all cases, essentially, if they've gone to federal court and they've lost, you usually just drop it. There's no point because you're going to end up at the same federal court, and they dropped it before. Why would they change their mind? It doesn't make sense. But this is Lena Khan, and the administrative process has changed. It used to be that was the law. That was basically it. If you went to federal court, you lost, it was done, because you had to get approval. Not just, hey, and Microsoft says, hey, can we dismiss it? It was like, no, you have to get approval from Microsoft to say, can we continue with the administrative process?
No, that's still the case. And that's why Microsoft put in the request today.
A while back. And so now that's not the case. So now they can ask for it, and the FTC can decide yes or no. In all cases, they've decided yes. We're just going to drop it. There's no point, right? But this is Lena Khan. It's $70 billion. I don't know. I'll say it's a flip of a coin that she decides to continue or not. And the right thing to do is just stop it, because it's not going to go anywhere. It was always going to fail anyway, right? A Democrat judge said you have no case. A Democrat judge appointed by Biden said you have no case. I don't know how much better it gets for you for the FTC. It's not going to work. There's no way it's not going to work. So yeah, it's a dead case. They should just let it go. But again, this is Lena Khan. I don't know if she gets the message that you need to just stop, because it's all politics. It's all politics, right? This is all her trying to say, I fought for the consumer. Did you really? But
not really.
Okay, whatever, right? And it's all optics. It's $70 billion from a multi-trillion-dollar company, right? That's all this is. And so law, it's not going to work, but she may just continue. In that case, this is going to drag on for a year, unfortunately, right? Now, but we don't have to care, because she's not going to win. But so Activision Blizzard will be owned by Microsoft, and all the network effects of that will happen. But she will continue. It's a coin flip to me. I don't know. I don't know. If it was following normal precedent, obviously it would be done at this point, right? The FTC would have just dropped it. So, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Let me ask you this though, in regards to the CMA. Obviously, you know, we just discussed it where the original phase 1 was 7 weeks, right? And there was a lot of stuff that Microsoft had to present to them. Well, they've all decided that we're going to get rid of the first situation and get rid of that. We're going to come to an agreement that you're going to sell off the publishing rights for cloud. We're happy with that. We got what we wanted. They're trying to save face is all they're doing.
Yep.
Do you see this thing getting done before, like maybe the first, like everyone seems to suggest 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah, I mean the fact that New Zealand put it right there, it very much, they usually coordinate with the CMA, right? Because they're part of the Commonwealth of Nations, right? They usually coordinate with whatever UK is doing anyway. So it's very likely that judgment's going to come out a day earlier, and that'll give the New Zealand folks enough time to write it up and push it out the next day. That's it. So he's right. It's going to be like August 4, 5, 6, something in that range, right? That it's going to be decided by CMA, and then New Zealand will have a couple of days a day to just write up their version. Remember, they're also significantly ahead in time, right? So that'll probably happen sometime in the afternoon for CMA, which will be nighttime in New Zealand. So they need another day, right? So whatever it is, it'll be somewhere around that time frame. I agree. I think it's first week of August. This is done. The CMA is already kind of, you could tell from the language of the judge, the cat judge, that this is done. There's no like going back at this point. It's done, right? And the deal needs to move forward, and they're just working through it. So it's just really like putting it in legalese that this is what you're doing, and we agree to it, and blah blah blah. Write it all up, and everybody agrees, and we go on, right? So that's basically what it is. So yeah, I think we're close in that August, early August timeframe. This should be good to go. The other thing the FTC could do, maybe if they want to do this, is they could just make a deal. That is always an option. If they weren't playing the games that they are, they could actually just.
It's crazy because I was listening to a couple of Destin Legary's videos. Of course, they've been nothing short of phenomenal, right?
Yep.
And he had made mention on one of his last ones that it was really perplexing to him how the FTC just did not want to hear anything. Like they they literally plugged their ears and were stamping their feet like a spoiled brat.
Yep.
It's pretty incredible that they are supposed to represent the better interest of us, the consumers. And ultimately they were protecting Sony. They literally went on Jim Ryan's word, and man, like I said, zero confidence moving forward. I mean, she's 0 for 4 in mergers, and like I said, I just want her to go off into the sunset. Let this go fight somebody else. You lost, and you didn't just lose. She lost bad. She actually lost pretty bad. And the case was handled terribly, and it's fine. It is what it is, but
again, they just save face by getting something from them, just like CMA is, right? CMA is saying, hey, you're going to make this change for us, and that makes it viable. There's nothing stopping from FTC just having that dialogue. Just talk to them. What is it you want? Let's see if it can be done. Write it up and be done with it, right?
Unfortunately, Hargeet, what I'm seeing happening here is this is a person that's going to cut her nose off to spite her face.
It is, yeah. Unfortunately,
it really is. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And like I said, in 2 to 3 weeks, this deal will be signed by the third another major regulator, and it's going to be done. Call of Duty, I like I said, we talked about in the first half of the show. I am in the belief that is going to hit Game Pass in fall of this year, November. Again, like I said, I don't know. I haven't seen the contract, folks. I'm not a contract attorney, but if they made a new 10-year contract that starts when they sign it, that obviously null and voids the old contract that they have. So
it only helps Sony, right? So
Sony's going to get an additional 10% of the split. Instead of it being 80-20 as it was for them and Microsoft, it's going to be 70-30. So they're actually getting a raise technically.
Yeah, and I don't know if they owe every year a part of their their agreement. This is how much we pay, Activision for the right to, market Call of Duty. So maybe that also gets nullified, and they don't have to pay that, right? And that's just
Maybe.
a benefit to Sony.
Yeah, I thought that's what Jim Ryan was referring to in his email to Phil. So I think there is a separate fee on top of it.
Just makes sense. Like, why waste the money? Like, whatever. It's coming to Game Pass anyways. It doesn't what's the big
you know what's interesting? Mag, I want to bring you in on the conversation because this to me I find fascinating.
Yeah.
Obviously the CMA and Jim Ryan, they know each other well. That was one of the first places he went to complain about getting this deal blocked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we've known for quite some time. This case has been in the public view for months, 20 months almost now. By the time it's done, it's going to be 21, 22 months. Everyone's watching and listening, and Jim Ryan said he's right. He's a businessman. This case is on a world stage. Everyone knows Microsoft is going to own Call of Duty. That's a fact. So then him walking away from the deal makes perfect sense to me. The CMA situation, where obviously you're in Canada. Canada just decided not to say anything. So whether they say something or not, it doesn't matter because it's already passed.
It's already passed,
yeah, for something for them.
Which Microsoft, by the way, was very kind in pointing out, which was the funniest thing I heard that week. Remember that? They're like,
yes.
"Well, you missed your time frame, so sit down." But anyways, carry on. Sorry.
So I mean, are you in the same mindset that this whole nightmare scenario for anyone that's been an Xbox fan that's been waiting and hoping that this deal goes through for a lot of reasons? I come at it from a consumer's point of view because when this deal finally gets done, my Game Pass subscription is going to triple in value,
right?
For a multitude of reasons. And I'm not a PC guy, but I know that it's going, for me, the value is going to go right through the roof. Do you see this? Do you see a 2 to 3 week scenario? Because they're going to fast track it. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and they're absolutely, and I literally do not have to repeat everything that Everborn and Hargeet had said because they have already said everything that the listeners have needed to hear. They absolutely, for the exact same reasons, I agree with them. That I would say by the second week of August. I don't know if in the U.S. or in the UK they have the same thing. In the first week of August, we have a long weekend up here in Canada, so it may not.
What holiday is it for you guys?
It's just a made up bull crap holiday. They call it. I think they named it after like one of the lakes. It's like, it's Simcoe weekend. I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. So the government can shut down for an extra week. Yeah.
Hey Mag, I already know what's gonna happen because this is just my luck. And again, I will say to you guys, you're welcome because it's because of me.
This is the jinx. This is the Everborn
right?
jinx.
The Everborn jinx. I double dipped on Diablo, and then the next day, the judge denied the deal, right? Denied the PI, right? But it gets better. I am going on vacation in the second week of August.
Come on.
Okay, well, so you just know that's when it's going to break, that the deal's going to close while I'm out on the beach somewhere with no Xbox.
There you go. So it's going to be the second. You heard it here first, folks. It's going to be the second week of August. Now,
no doubt.
Here's the thing. I want to bring up two things that I was going to just sort of a comment on. One thing by Everborn, one by Hargeet. First one I'm going to bring up is what Everborn had talked about. You've got the next, let's say, presumably 17 to 30 days before this thing closes, right? I mean, would theoretically close, right? But the interesting thing is, there are some of the people with the bullish mentality, clearly not thinking through of from a legal standpoint, and of course, from not a consumer standpoint, from a PR standpoint, a political standpoint of coming to the table. And what I mean by that, of course, I'm talking about our Xbox sitting at the table, not coming to the table, sitting at the table. This future-proofs their situation. And that's, again, something that Everborn had already mentioned, which, of course, I was going to mention, but he stole it from me. Anyways, the thing is future-proofing. This is what this does, is that this provides good faith moving forward for the next deal and the next deal and the next deal, because let's face it, we all know this. When it comes to large corporations, my corporation is no different. We're not talking about tomorrow. We're not talking about 2030. We're already talking about 2040. Our projections go into like 2 decades from now. You know, it's the same thing with all the big corporations, whether it's entertainment, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's the gaming industry, whether it's banking, whatever. They look at all those projections all the way down there. So Microsoft is not playing for tomorrow. Microsoft is playing for 2040 and beyond. That being said, you tread lightly, all right? You don't have to, like, you tread like, go smaller, like for the next acquisition. Sega is not really on the map, so maybe Sega would be the smaller one. I don't want to get into the speculations as to who it's
No, this is good speculation, man. Keep going.
But what I'm saying is, okay, let's say Sega just to keep Everborn happy, but let's just say what you're doing is you want to tread a little bit lightly. It's, you know, what you want to do by doing that, and take your time. The reason why you want to take your time is, A, you're not going to have to go through this again if you've shown that you've been upfront the entire way and you've been willing to negotiate. And the other thing is that it also shows that it'll give you just enough time to show that your acquisitions have truly been beneficial to the consumers, to the gamers, and to the gaming industry. This is the bigger one, because let's not forget, it's not just about us, guys. It's about the tens of thousands of new employees that are going to now be under Microsoft's wing. And if you piss off those people and they start going on strike or this and that and whatever, this is not going to be a good look for the next time. Right? So what you want to do is you want to keep these people happy and at their desks, as opposed to standing outside with it, you know, with an A-frame on around their neck, complaining about this, that, and the other. Right? So, like I said, you have to give them enough time to show that this acquisition has truly been beneficial for all the parties involved. That's very, very important. And that what that starts with, it starts with Microsoft sitting at the table and negotiating. They don't have to negotiate lightly. They don't have to bend to, you know, they have to bend the knee to whatever, but at least they're there and sitting down and willing to have an open dialogue and discussion moving forward. That's what I'm looking at. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention, you know, about what Mark Hargeet was talking about with, with the FTC not making a deal. Here's the interesting thing. The politics of that situation is what's keeping this from making a deal. They've already gone down the road too far. They cannot turn back, right? And the way that they look at this is that now the FTC is going to have to go down as a martyr, and they're going to do that on purpose because they're going to say that they died trying to protect the consumer, as opposed to we tried to protect the consumer and then we bent the knee at the last minute. Right? And that's what they're trying to avoid. And I understand what they're doing at this point, because now they have no choice. They're like, well, we lost. We went all in. So now we have to die on the cross. Right? That is what's going to happen now. They have to do it, because now people say, anybody who supported the situation, they're going to have to look at that and say, we watch them fight to the death to protect our interests. And that's why they're going to continue to look good for their supporters specifically. Now, the other thing is that, of course, which is a foolish notion, is that by doing that, what they thought, like bending the knee, for example, that shows that they're showing weakness. In fact, what it shows is ignorance. And to me, it shows ignorance is that it's a lack of interest. And this is the thing I've noticed from the very beginning of this thing. You guys remember from the months we've been listening, I've been listening to you guys talk a lot of times. You know, I don't get into the legalities of it, but I do listen and I do observe. There's one thing that I've noticed, the constant between the CMA and the FTC, specifically, obviously, the two ones who have denied the deal numerous times, is that they truly show an absolute lack of interest or research in this very specific topic. And they've been educated by Microsoft. They've been educated by the judge. They have been educated by the lawyers. And they still don't seem interested in truly understanding what this is, or the impact, the positive impact that this has. And that is the problem. But for Christ's sake, Everborn himself has more knowledge and research than the entire FTC and the CMA combined. At any time, Everborn could talk for 15 minutes. Everborn,
and I'm stupid.
You could talk for 15 minutes about the subject, about things that I didn't even know about or think about. And I'm sitting there here listening to this going, how the hell does this guy know all this stuff? Why? Because he did the research. He looked into it. He's passionate about it. He's interested in it. And if that's your job and you're getting paid to do that, and this is a 70 billion, well, not 70, but you know what I mean, billions of dollar acquisition, you had better be interested in all the details. Otherwise, you will lose. You did lose. They did lose. Both of them. and they will continue to lose, and therefore it will close by the 2nd or 3rd week of August. That's all I pretty much had to say. Like I said, I didn't want to add too much about it, but I just wanted to say those are my thoughts and feelings. We should have showed much more interest.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Both of you brought up an interesting thing about like the next one, right? Just keep in mind that anything they buy in Japan, they have a pretty good shield there, 98%.
Yes.
Keep that number in mind, because there's almost no regulator that can say anything when you have no market share and you're trying to gain any level of market share. What are they going to say? They have nothing. They're going to have
because Sega's next, Hargeet.
It's not a bad notion, and that's a great number to bring up. But at the same time, you also want to stay on you want to stay on the positive side of things when it comes to. I agree with you, Mag.
100% that they're trying to say, you know what? Let's not piss them off. We want to have the CMA on our side. We're going to follow all their stuff.
You put the clean face forward. 100%. That's you have to put the clean face forward.
Here's the thing: you're supposed to be petty. And North remembers with Sony. You don't do that with regulators.
Yeah.
Right? You don't be petty with regulators. Could you do it? But that is a nuclear option where nobody comes out good.
Right.
You don't want that unless it's an absolute last resort, like you lose this deal if you don't do it. That is the only scenario. And I think we can all agree that that is not where we are. Now, Hargeet, about the rules. So the way the current rules now in terms of walking away from the administrative case, this decision is actually up to the lawyers. It's more of a procedural thing. It is not this doesn't go to the commissioner. So, but that guy, Weingarten, was kind of seemed like
a D-bag,
PlayStation guy anyway.
Yeah.
But hopefully they're going to make a decision based on whether they win. But this actually goes to the lawyers and not the commissioners. And they have 48 hours.
But the lawyer is going to do whatever Lena says, right?
I mean, there should be some autonomy. This is designed so that there's a wall between the commissioners and the actual lawyers.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that works.
I don't know. She colluded with everybody, so I don't know so much about that.
Like I said, never underestimate the power of political pressure.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other thing is there are arguments that would have fared better for the CMA, and I've heard people make them. And what you're saying that is so fascinating to me is anyone who paid attention to this thing could have made better arguments to this, right? And it's fine that it's not fine. You can't block a deal because you don't like a company, and there's no laws on the books that says there's a deal size cap. Right. So if you want to block this deal because you are making the assumption that this deal is illegal, how's it illegal? You can't make these laws up. Right now, they were trying to get decisions, and this is the super important thing that you should pay attention to. Right. They were trying to get a federal judge to take as precedent rulings from their own court. Now, the case that they were using was a case that they lost, but they get in their court, they can appeal their own judge. And so they lost this case. They appealed it, meaning they made the final ruling on this case, and they wanted a federal judge to take that as precedent.
Which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
It's a blatant power grab.
Of course.
And again, if I am not here, and there's nobody that says that they have any recording of me bad mouthing Lena Khan, but I am, and I always try to talk about these things as the FTC. If you want the law changed, you go and do it through the Congress. And I know they are terrible because they can't agree on tying shoes. Right? And who goes to what bathroom? They can't figure that out. That's fine. But that is that's the hard work that you have to do if you want to change these laws. And I do agree that the laws are not stringent enough. But the laws not being stringent enough doesn't mean that by default, this specific deal in this specific market, in this specific jurisdiction was anti-competitive. They just made it up. Right. And that's the point. And they were trying to use this case in order to and I believe this is why it got thrown out, because they were trying to set a new rule, because if you, whatever ruling you get in this court, the next time there's a court case, someone's going to say, hey, look at that Microsoft versus FTC case where you took precedent from the FTC's in-house court. I guess you can take more rulings from them. And then because they're the judge and jury over there, really, the commissioners at the FTC would be making all the rules. And so that's in my opinion, that is a problem.
Yeah.
Right. Forget about Xbox, forget about PlayStation, forget about all of that. If you want to change the law, that's fine. Lobby Congress to do it. Lobby Congress to do their job. You do not change the law.
I mean, she worked in Congress, right? She worked for somebody in Congress. I can't remember who it was, but she worked in Congress. She was in that.
Yeah, well, look.
The last thing I want to say is there are arguments you could have made against this deal. I will not make them until
don't even say them out loud. Yeah, that's we don't want to give any pricks.
But anybody that does some research, there are some actual, and I'm not saying those arguments would win, but they would be a hell of a lot better than we need to protect the market leader from Christmas skins.
Yeah, which is that's going to go down in infamy. Christmas skins, because I want to run around as a Santa. And I can't get that in this over here. It's so dumb. Casante, look, there's not really much more to say. I want to frame a different question for you. They've beaten the CMA. I don't care.
Absolutely.
I don't care who you are or what you think. The CMA got beat. They got beat because about it. Oh, I'm absolutely sure about that. The CMA got beat because they hedged a bet with Lena Khan, and like I said in the opening, it exploded in their face.
Well, I mean, I'll push back and say I wouldn't even say that they're pushing that they're on the side of Lena Khan. At some point, they recognized what the jig was up, and now it seems like they're a slave to the process, and they're just doing whatever they can to help Microsoft save face, like to help them save face. Right?
Yeah, yes,
they are definitely in save face mode at this point. Yeah.
So my question to you is. After this deal is signed, because and again, I probably should have said this to everyone, because obviously I saved it for you, because obviously you've heard everyone say it. There's been some talk about Microsoft maybe not pressing the gas all the way down. Once this deal is signed in 2 or 3 weeks and the ink is dried, what do you think is going to happen, man? Like, do you think full throttle?
That's a very interesting question, because like there's an argument for both sides, and I don't know. I have been thinking about that myself for a bit of time now, and there's very big arguments and very stringent like conversation for both potentials, right? And that even though we're talking about the end of a huge deal, there's still a ticking time bomb that's kind of looming large in the background. And Hargeek kind of actually mentioned it already before. People forget time passes, right? Just because you got Japan to basically mea culpa and recommend that and understand that the market leader owns the monopolistic amount in the market, doesn't mean that ground stays seated forever, right? So while you're finished with this ABK thing, and let's be clear, they are not finished. They're just getting started. Now they're now, with the approval, allowed to be at the starting line. That's what this is, right? So while you're getting there, getting ready to get them right, and then start the process of integration or potential integration or limited, however you guys choose to do it, you must also now think of the idea that you get a mulligan in Japan, only one. And that window is closing slow. So what will you do? Like, do you wait the 2-3 obligatory years it takes for you to come back and say, you're right, and say, hey, come back and say, look what we did here, people. We told you we would do right. Now look at us. We've done right 2 years later. And then let the chips fall where they may. And of course,
between ZeniMax and Activision closing.
This is a 2 years. This is a 2 years where the world might completely not look different after you're done, right? And by the way, I can't concentrate. There's too many damn dinosaurs on the screen. Anyway,
you've got a point there, and the issue is the next Nintendo is likely to come out.
Exactly.
And it may change
Exactly.
the entire dynamic,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
no, you got to strike.
Only 2
That's the way
years.
it is.
You only
gotta
have 2
strike.
years. So that's the thing. Do you because let's be honest, right? It's a very it's an interesting question, and if anybody here or you hear anyone say they know definitively what's going to happen next, they don't know what they're talking about, because it is a very, very, very tumultuous place they find themselves in. Right? I was having this conversation. I think it was with you, Boom, or with Everborn.
Yes.
And you say that, right? And the first thing they go is, well, but what about what do you call it? Embracer Group. They're over here. They need money. You still need to secure Crystal D and the rest of them before maybe Amazon does. And that's also a potential that's out there. Yeah, you can do that one on the low. You can do it to a point where you don't hit regulatory.
Buy them separately, so there's no regulatory eye.
You don't meet any regulatory eye, exactly. But these are all things that need to happen in parallel as soon as possible before potentially something falls out of your grasp, right? Like, and we've seen it happen where it fell out of their grasp and they lost the Tomb Raider IP and they lost all these things that they could have gotten. So, I find it super interesting. Like I think they should test the waters and strike before the iron is before it's too late, and go in the Japanese market, because they've even gotten like governments, various congressmen have already spoken about this, right? So it's in the public sphere, it's in the zeitgeist. The politics is on their side right now. Although, of course, that whole conversation about, there goes the big multi-trillion-dollar company scooping up the market again. That conversation will obviously continue to dog them if they do this right away, because you got to wait till the dust settles and people forget that you just made the hugest purchase in history, right? And then you turn around and you go make another purchase, which probably in Japan will also be major, because people don't really buy that much in Japan. So that may be a big deal, even if it's Sega or wherever we're going. Like where they go.
Okay, in Japan.
Yeah, I'm listening.
You have the JFTC that you have to go through, but
they have to contend with. Yep.
Is also, they may be
protected by the protected brand. Yes.
Well, there's the cultural ministry, right? And again, I'm not saying these things are impossible, because we just saw that they wanted to buy Activision. They had to go through 18 months. I mean,
right? Bro, anyone that says, oh, that stuff is harder or it's impossible, all I have to do is point you to point you to Bethesda, who owns Tango Gameworks. If small ZeniMax can purchase in Japan, so can big trillion-dollar Microsoft. So that's just a few more hoops to jump through.
It is just more. It is more scrutiny, just like you have a phase 2.
Absolutely,
in a CMA investigation.
Absolutely. Now, but I guess to close out my part of this, I know, and all jokes aside, I'm not here for the smoke. We saved that one for Saturday mornings. I know that the priority here is, get your Sega on, and I'm not saying that's a bad choice. I'm not, right? Because we've already seen that they're very much on the same page as Microsoft. They're already integrating a lot of the same technologies and all of that. So it all works well. But what I will say, and I mean, take your fanboy hats off. I know it's harder for some of y'all than others. Whatever they strike here in Japan, this will be their only opportunity, because after that, I say the window's closed. Yeah, you may be able to get some small thing here on odds and ends, but if you want a big publisher in the region, something to really solidify yourself, you get one choice. Pick wisely. You have Sega available. You have Square available. I keep popping this up and people don't think taking it seriously. You got Koei Tecmo available, right? Yeah, Capcom's there too, and maybe Capcom doesn't want to get purchased. I see you on the screen there, their Exo Primal, but there are a lot of choices there. Square, all of them. So before you're quick to go, Sega or whatever, you have literally one shot to take a bite. And whatever bite you take, you will never get this chance again, and they're all prime for the taking. Which one do you choose?
Sega.
It's an interesting question. Well, I'm not talking to you.
This is not a question.
I'm not talking to you.
I don't know why we wasted the last 5 minutes.
We had this discussion before, and Square is probably the more obvious option, because of the fact that they
slander that would come with Microsoft buying Square Enix.
Look at
I like Sega better, but that's
look at Koei Tecmo's library. Look at their entrenched library. Look at the way they
They were
churn
looking
out
at
stuff.
Bandai as well. Just to be fair,
Bandai
they were looking
Namco.
at
You know what I'm
Bandai.
saying? Look,
And they were
again,
very
I
close
am
to
not
Viceroy.
saying the Blue
We're
Hedgehog is a
the
bad choice.
40-year-old that still goes to the club 3 times a week. You do not want to settle down with that.
I mean,
He says,
Bandai, if
don't
they
settle
wanna
for the
go
cougar.
big,
That's what he's
right?
saying.
Bandai, obviously, the good answer. I'm just
No.
looking at a fit perspective. Square is in trouble,
Uh-huh.
and so they're going to
Yes.
be looking to be purchased.
Yep, true.
There's also another part that I'm not sure where this lands now. Now that Sony snitched, they are now under the gun, right? They have a 98% market share. They ain't buying Square. That ain't happening.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
true.
The FTC's got to say, no, you
See,
define
this Hargeet. See, this is why I say Microsoft has a mulligan going right. They have a slow closing window to pick any. You can literally walk in and you got a free shot in the face at Tyson, and he'll hold his hands back like this. You get one good shot.
At all your jokes. Sega cooks and cleans and reads to the seeds.
Yeah, but see, Sega has been cooking and cleaning and laughing at your jokes forever. Now you look over and they're all available to you.
You need to know
the question is
your day one. Sega was what you shooting in the gym.
That's right. That's right. So, but let's be clear, right? Really,
right?
Yes, absolutely
challenging for them.
Yes, Sega has been most likely for you for a long time now, but now with this move, it's not what's the most likely for you. It's they are all available to you. Do you pick the one that's been most likely?
Sega, stop shacking up.
I mean, Sega's doing pretty well. They're not like, and they have a lot of good partnerships. Yeah. Again, everyone as a fan, I agree with you. I would rather have Sega, but I'm looking at it from a business perspective.
From a business perspective, it's a very enticing and lucrative, interesting place to find. Go ahead,
really quick. Okay. I don't want to get caught.
Go ahead.
Held up on this.
Sure.
You have to think about culture and integration. And I do not know if that is there with Square the way it would be with Sega, who is already using your technology, who you're already utilizing to make your strategy games. And they already have a large mobile publisher that helps with your plans, and they give you the nostalgia IP that can compete with Nintendo in a way that Square maybe can or can't. Right?
Here's the thing, right? So the culture at ABK doesn't align with Microsoft either, and is one of the reasons that they were.
But at least they speak the same language.
So sort of, right? There's an assumption.
The language of money.
and this was all the way from Satya that there will be a cultural shift needed when they acquire ABK, and that will not happen immediately, but they will be working through it, right? And it's the same thing with Square. You could say, hey, look, their executives have been managing this company horribly. They keep losing money on games, so something had to give. There's some cultural issues as far as their development as well. They're just closing studio. They just closed one of their premier studios, right? So you got to look at all that and say, maybe the culture there does need to shift. We're buying the IPs, we're buying the developers, right? We're not going to, continue with the current management structure and shift it to something else, right?
But
I'm just saying, look, these are all options, and it's not like this is out of the order, like out of left field. They were literally about to buy them when Starfield, as we just found out, was about to become an exclusive to Sony, and they're like, "Yo, we can't do that. We got to go buy ZeniMax."
Okay, right? but again, I just want to point out, right? There's going to be a lot of issues for Microsoft, a Western company, to go over there and say we're going to go restructure your whole management thing. That is not going to end well. Sega, at the moment, at least, is running like a semi-well-oiled machine, and there you can be
an option for them to discuss, to figure as part of the purchase, right? So they're all interesting points, right? So we'll see, but it's one of those, right? We definitely think it's one of those. If they're gonna go for it, Bandai is obviously the best one to get. It's got the most IP. It's the most valuable.
Bandai would be the equivalent of buying Activision, though. If you
would be,
I know,
the biggest publisher over. In
see, and see, now you're thinking with your logical. But see, this is my point. Now you're thinking with your logical hat. Remember, for a while now, you've been courting the one you can get. Now you can literally come and steal the ace in the crown, and as much as they hate you, they got nothing to say. You still gonna go with the one you
My
can
ace
get?
in the crown is
Japan
Capcom.
will stop you from
That, to
buying
me,
their
is
biggest publisher.
That's
the
the.
crown
I agree
jewel
with
of
Boom.
Japan.
You think so?
Yes.
I
Well,
agree with Boom.
they think so
Capcom's
because
more
they're
valuable
always
IP
thinking
to
as
me,
a
to the
fanboy,
North
right?
American audience and
That's the
European.
problem. Like this is
Well,
not
but that's the
to
thing.
solve
They don't need the
all
Western
hate.
audience. They don't need y'all. They have y'all already with all their Western stakeholders.
There's still a lot more in there. There's a younger generation coming up. They want Asante. That's what they're looking for. Not
own
us.
you with ZeniMax. They own you with all those other. They own you with Doom Guy.
But
They own you with Activision. Right? They own you with all those various properties. So this next play would be squarely in the Eastern
Asia.
market.
Yep.
You know, let it be for them. You know, yeah.
I love that Activision is not closed yet, and we got our eyes on.
Oh, I'm already moving on.
That's
This ain't tomorrow. This ain't tomorrow. This is 3, 4, 5 years from now. I'm telling you now.
He wants everything also. Listen,
Yes,
and John TJ is another one. He wants it all. Listen, look, all I can say, folks, is I can't. First of all, I can't believe it's 2 hours. That went by so quick. I have to catch up on some super chats. We'll do some outros. We'll get everyone out of here on time. Tomorrow, I'm sitting down with Zemi Games as well as C Money on the new episode of X Vlog Live, and then of course Friday morning at 10 a.m. we're gonna have another amazing breakfast at Boom. I don't know if we're gonna have any guests. We might, but listen, big shout out to everyone that tuned in for today's show. Hopefully you enjoyed the conversation. Of course, we could be here for another 3 hours because we're talking Capcom, Bandai Namco. I don't want Square for personal reasons, but I do want Sega because I am a Sega stan. I'm a Sega apologist. And by the way, everyone, I just dropped that Hallmark ornament of the Sega
I'm looking
Dreamcast.
at it as we speak.
I'm
getting ready to order this thing.
Only it's really dope.
By the way, one more thing to consider with Square: you don't want to buy a whole publisher full of Pete Hines. Because I feel like
that's true.
That's what you might end up with.
That's true.
Damn, a whole company full of double agents.
That is just so slanderous. What are you doing? Come on. What did they do to Pete Hines? They didn't kick him to the curb. You are literally exactly. You're slandering him based on old information.
I'm gonna be honest.
That's right.
I really don't.
Look,
I know the people.
Y'all are slandering him based on old information. Because if it was slander worthy, he'd have been kicked to the curb. Instead, he got a promotion. So come on.
I like Pete. I like Pete Hines. Listen, he's
exactly.
A gamer. He wants everyone to play.
Hold on a minute. All I know is that Pete called or emailed Phil saying you should have consulted with me before this marketing thing happened. And then all of a sudden, Pete is no longer running marketing.
And then what did they do? They made him even more influential in the company.
I bet he ain't getting calls about
that's a
marketing
promotion.
Yeah, well, listen, we can chase our tails with that another time. Sir X-Men drops a very generous $2 super chat. Says, sorry, Boom was at work and my voice to text sucks. Yes, he was talking about Project Gotham 5. Yeah, my talk to text always get me in trouble. Dean Rivera drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, since Xbox needs its own superhero game, wouldn't it be rad if Xbox got the rights to make The Boys a video game, a cinematic, mature, rated, gnarly game? I would love that. But I keep thinking when I say superhero, we can talk. I want a Cap game for sure. Like that's just my hero. But
wake me up when they revive Prototype. Wake me up when they revive Prototype, which they now own.
Yeah, they have it.
They need to bring back Prototype. It's people are playing it, people are buying it, people are loving it on the Series X. They need to remake the original or whatever you want to do, reboot, if you will. Prototype is a kind of a character that has that has a trilogy under his belt. I mean, the second one wasn't so great, but that's because it was a cash grab. The first one is completely brilliant. We have Highlander 001 drops a $5 super chat and says the Supreme Court has refused to hear the gamers' lawsuit. Do you think the Supreme Court would hear the FTC case? No, they would just laugh her out of the courtroom. She's not even going to get there. And the gamers' lawsuit is just a joke. And he said, and so thanks so much for that, Highlander. And I find it funny that they pushed it there and they were like, get out of here, kids. It's just ridiculous. Igmatic Dreams drops a $2 super chat and says Capcom or Square over Sega, Parasite Eve or RE over Sega. Enigmatic Dreams is a Parasite Eve. So am I. I love the first one. The first one was phenomenal. That was Square Enix when they were actually really good. Not so much now. Highlander 001 drops an additional $5. Jen says Khan worked for the subcommittee that questioned her last week. Oh, I did not even know that. Yep. In fact, some of the Republicans that questioned her supported her as head of the FTC. I'm sure that they're upset about that. Sir X-Man drops an additional $2 chat, and I agree with him. He says, I want Crytek for that engine and Rise of Son of Rome 2. Yes, that would be a big one. I listen, who knows where they're going to go next? We're going to be talking about this for weeks to come. IO Interactive is out there. Asobo's out there. Crytek is out there. Crystal D and Eidos Montreal need to come home where they should be. Tomb Raider IP, maybe it's on the chopping block for Embracer because they're a bit hurting for money. I'd love to see Microsoft buy that. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Primetime Gaming this evening. Hopefully you had an amazing time. We had a lot of laughs here. I nearly choked on my drink thanks to a member in the chat that said something hilarious. Mag, you're here for your outro, sir.
I am.
Listen, obviously you're building a beautiful arcade behind you. You got a nice machine on the way. I cannot wait for you to take some pictures of that.
Oh yeah,
sell your brand, brother, because you've been making some crazy videos as of late. Where can people find you on Monday evenings, and more importantly, find you on social media doing some pony trolling as you do?
Oh yeah, well yeah. Pony Master's been rather busy. I did 3 videos in 3 weeks, so I've been back at it. I got I had some motivation, obviously, as the news gets funnier and whatever. But anyways, you can always catch me on Twitter. I drop my videos there. I also drop my videos on TikTok because you know what? They don't copyright strike me. That's why I don't put them on YouTube. So anyways, I do what I do. I go rogue. Hey man, I'm a master of guerrilla warfare. You don't know where the hell I'm going to show up. I'm just going to show up, and all of a sudden the video just comes out of nowhere, right? So you can find me in the foxholes. But anyways, Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, you can find me on XNC Podcast with, of course, Colt Eastwood. As you go check out the last show, it was myself, Colt, and Randall Thor came in and ruined the show for us. But anyways, besides all that,
I was listening live.
Oh, that was a funny show, man. It was pretty epic.
He couldn't get him in, then he got him in, then he got him out. It was hilarious.
Oh man, it was so funny. And then at some point he's asking me to do the Xbox 2 + 1, whatever. So I'll do that at some point. But anyways, of course, every Wednesday you can find me here, 7 p.m. Eastern on Primetime Gaming. And as I said before, this week marks my 3-year anniversary on the show. So
indeed,
it's been
so
I can't believe how fast the time has gone. It's been incredible. What a journey. And then, of course, we had some faces leave. We had some faces now are here and part of this crew. And here we are, man. And we're just an evolving family of it. And it's been fantastic and having such a great time with all you guys. And, of course, everybody in the chat for supporting everybody for all these years. Always been wonderful. And all the DMs and everything are also great for all the support. And don't forget, guys, support Boom's channel. This is what it's all about. So, anyways, everybody, have yourself a wonderful week. We'll see you guys all, and we'll talk in the private chats. DM me if anybody wants to talk to me about anything. We'll see you all next week.
All right, brother. And Hargeet, sell the brand. I mean, the sauce has been flowing. Gaz has been here, there, and everywhere. He was on Rand's show live when the FTC lost for the second time, and he did what Gaz does, man. And all you got to do is just laugh at the sauce. Talk about Game On Daily. Talk about your own podcast that you do each and every week with Zolker87, who was also on that show with Gaz. Record-breaking show for Randall Thor. Well-deserved, as always. Talk about it, man.
Yeah. By the way, you have another super chat.
Yes,
here,
I'll get to that in a hot second.
But yeah, so first RDX. Sorry we didn't have a podcast yesterday.
Yeah, poor dealer is going through it, folks. I don't know what he's going through, but hopefully he's
hopefully next week we'll be able to resume. But
wait, what happened to dealer?
Not that he had some personal
us.
Stuff happen.
Yeah,
he had to cancel the show at the last minute. He never does that.
Yeah.
So whatever it was serious, and hopefully he's going to be all right.
And Game On Daily, certainly check out. And again, Gaz has his own channel where more of the sauce stuff will be. It's Septic Sauce on YouTube. But Game On Daily, the Saturday show, go live, and GameOnDaily.com. And then Zealots of Gaming, I don't know if we're continuing. We're kind of like in flux right now. I think it's going to kind of stop because of just job commitments. Unfortunately, Zucker has
Umbra 1.
What was that? Number one, yeah. Like
Stop it! Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not cool.
But either way, so so we'll see if we can do something with that. If not, it's probably going to be on hiatus for a bit. And then of course, primetime gaming every Wednesday at 7 p.m. But yeah, and I just started up. What was it what's that game that Kojima made for Sony?
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding.
Yeah.
And,
I put 70 hours into it. I did not.
The first of the Stranding verse games. The Stranding verse.
I mean, so far I've played like a half an hour or something like that, and it's 25 minutes of just cutscene. I barely played anything.
Cutscenes, yeah.
I'm like, I literally haven't paused because I'm like, okay, this cutscene's gonna end and I can go to the podcast, right? This cutscene, it just kept going and going.
Yeah.
I'm like 10, 15 minutes. Can you stop already? Jesus, it's a Kojima game, right? This is just what they do. This was like Metal Gear Solid 4.
Is it worse than Final Fantasy 16?
I haven't played that one, right? I don't know. It probably
I want to play it, but I want to get it used. I don't want to get.
This is kind of like that Sony formula, isn't it? Right? It is constant cutscenes. Like when I played Metal Gear Solid 4, it was just 45-minute cutscenes and 20 minutes of gameplay. And I'm like, dude, this is just untenable. Like you can't have 45-minute freaking cutscenes. Like get over yourself. But anyway, that's what I just started that up, and I'm like, wow, this is just getting boring to just watch stupid cutscenes. But anyway, that's what I've been playing. I just finished Planet of Lana, which was pretty good.
Great. What a great
little game. It's pretty good.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty good. And yeah, otherwise, I'll see you guys here next week on Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Looking forward to it, brother. Real quick, we have a monster super chat coming in from Spartan661, who drops a very generous additional $20 super chat and says, Mr. BoomStick XL, I found most podcasts I enjoy through your show. Oh, that is awesome. And again, that's what we do here. We try to celebrate all the other gamers that come on. I bring them on as guests. Hopefully you do subscribe and you do find new podcasters that you like. He says, watching you through the years and your advertising everyone is amazing. Thank you, brother. That's very kind of you to say. You are the first membership I've ever had. Others bought my membership and I was blessed, brother. That's very kind to you. He's one. Yeah, because actually we've had quite a few gifted subs as well, which is pretty cool. And I'm glad you got one of them, brother. So thank you so much for the support and thank you for the very kind words. Asante. Obviously you're gonna be back this Saturday at the Gaming Circle podcast Saturday morning. Talk about it, brother. Sell your brand.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I appreciate all the slander that I have gotten over the last week or two, because of course I always pick my vacations perfectly timed with the most important news that we have been discussing for years now, and of course that's how it all fell. I will say, I happened, for those who aren't aware, when all that happened and Lena Khan was being grilled, I was in Washington, actually literally in front of the Congress, waiting for her to come out.
You could boo her.
It just happened. It just so happened we happened to be on vacation. We were at the Capitol. We saw all that stuff, and she was in the Capitol at the same time. But yes, I am back. We are well rested and we're ready to go this weekend. Of course, we will have the Gaming Circle podcast. It should be so much fun. We're gonna, everyone's had their victory laps. We're gonna take ours. As you can tell, Mr. Evan Saga has been giving pieces of his mind to everyone. I suspect you'll want to tune into this one, because short of buying Sega, this may be the most victory lap of victory laps that we're going to hear. So we shall see how that goes. I will say, while I'm doing my outro, if you haven't played Fist, play Fist.
Fantastic game.
The game. I didn't say I just said play Fist. Okay. Now the second time, that should be a pause. Anyway,
I believe this.
what I will say is, it is, and I will expound more on it when on the Saturday show, but it is as good as Shadow Complex. Now, for those who remember,
dude, one of my favorite games, dude. One of my favorite side-scrolling Metroidvania
I'm
joints.
Speaking. I have put like days, and of course I was on vacation, so I had to do a handheld. I couldn't sit in front of the PC or in front of the console, so I took a handheld with me. Been playing Fist, cannot stop playing it. It is freaking amazing. It's so good. It is so good.
And that
Story
was
not as good as Shadow
for a
Complex.
while. Yeah,
true. Yeah. Story not as good as Shadow Complex, but from a moment-to-moment gameplay perspective, everyone should be talking about this game. It is like I've been waiting for Shadow Complex for a long time. This is the first time I'm like, okay, Shadow Complex can stay gone as long as we get another fist. Like, this is great. Needless to say, thank you so much for being here and watching us. Gaming Circle Podcast, Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, episode 99, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice.
So episode 100 is coming shortly after, and myself and the Everborn Saga are planning some interesting stuff. We'll see how that goes. The week before we left, we had Mr. Perilous Lily on our show officially. It was really fun. We had a lot of slanderous stuff on that show. We will have more.
He's a Sonic
so
hater,
expect more.
Certified Sonic hater.
He's not a certified Sonic hater. He is a man who speaks truth.
There you go.
That Mario
He understands
Sonic.
He
Mario
understands the
beat Sonic
elephant
before.
tusk Mario is going to squash everybody.
Brute.
There you go.
Well, listen.
So yes, thank you guys very much.
Real quick, shout out to Eternal Shaddai, who is one who dropped at least, from my count, if I could remember, 15 plus channel memberships. He donated, and of course, a big shout out for the generosity, because that's just crazy. Eternal Shaddai, thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. And last and no way least, Everborn Saga. Sell your brand, brother. Talk about what you got going on with the Everborn Saga, and where could people reach out to you on social media?
I mean, we know the answer to all these questions are Everborn Saga, your favorite social media network or gaming platform, Everborn Saga, but most importantly, everbornsaga.com. And this Saturday, we are going to be breaking down the crushing defeat of the FTC and the bending of the knees of the CMA, and we'll talk all that through, and we will have some fun while doing it, because the goal is to inform and entertain, and that's what we try to do every week. So I will see you guys there. I am playing Final Fantasy 16 right now, trying to finish that so I can get back to Zelda and Diablo, and hopefully by the time I do all that, these deals will be closed and we can move on to actually talking about the fun stuff. This is fun, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm saying the fun stuff of how will integration work, because I really can't wait to start talking about that. Like, what does it look like with Activision as a part of Xbox? And that conversation is going to be so fun, but we're all caught up on this regulatory stuff. So let's get through this hump. We're almost there. The light's at the end of the tunnel. Let's hope it's not an oncoming train. And let's get this thing over the line. Oh, somebody in the chat said, do I mean I'm watching Final Fantasy 16? That's not nice.
I mean, it's true, but it's not nice. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for making it. We had over 800 people here this evening. Again, if you are new, you find the channel for the first time, please help us on the march to 14K. And you can do that by hitting the subscribe button, as well as, of course, that bell icon, so you know whenever I go live. And I go live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, all different shows, all different panels, but all great content. We never sell you hate to get your click or your like. And of course, a big thank you to all of the super chats that continue to come in. And the channel memberships, they do allow for us to do big giveaways. And there's 4 of them coming from the last quarter of the year is going to be $3,500 plus worth of giveaways. And we can't do that without all of the help that you guys and gals give us here at Double Barrel Gaming. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.